Have you ever been abandoned by your own family on the most important day of your life? On my wedding day, they didn't show up. Not because of an emergency, not because of illness, but because they chose my sister's party instead. I remember her exact words. "You can have a wedding anytime, Addie, but this is my first baby." She said it so casually, like she was choosing between brunch spots. No hesitation, no guilt, just a decision. She picked the date. She picked the time. And somehow, or maybe not accidentally at all, she picked my wedding day. Same day. Same hour. On one side, my wedding. On the other, her baby shower. And you know what happened? On a Bewan. My family disappeared from my guest list. My mom. My aunts. My cousins. The same people who once told me they would always be there. They all had the same excuse. It's just bad timing. Maybe people can attend both. Or, can you reschedule your wedding? Reschedule? Do you understand? This wasn't a birthday party. It wasn't a casual gathering. It was my wedding day. The day I had spent months preparing for. The day I believed my family would show up. But in the end, they made their choice. And wasn't it? The wedding day came. The garden was exactly how I imagined. 42 chairs, arranged neatly under the afternoon sun. Lavender tea to each one, gently swaying in the breeze. Everything was perfect. Except for one thing. 35 empty chairs. Only 7 people showed up. 7 people. On a day that should have been filled with family. But what hurt the most wasn't the empty chairs. It was the silence. Not a single message. Not a single apology. Not even a congratulations. As if my wedding never happened. As if I never existed. But if you think it was just a coincidence, it wasn't. I wanted to believe that too. That maybe it was just bad timing. That maybe no one meant for this to happen. Until I found out the truth. 3 weeks before my wedding, my Aunt Patricia called me. Her voice was casual. Like she was asking something completely normal. "Are you going to both events or just one? Colette's shower and your wedding. They're on the same day, right?" I froze. "What shower?" "Colette's baby shower. At the Greenwich Club." "Didn't you get the invitation?" "No, I didn't. Not a message. Not a call. Not even a hint." I called Colette immediately. 3 rings. She picked up. Bright. Cheerful. Perfect. As always. "Oh my God. Addie, I thought you knew." I tightened my grip on the phone. "You scheduled it on my wedding day?" A brief pause. Then she said, "The venue only had that date available. I couldn't move it." But I knew. Colette never can't. She always has options. She just chose not to change this one. "But your wedding is in the afternoon, right? Maybe people can go to both." We both knew. That was impossible. Her event was at noon. Mine was at 3 p.m. More than 90 minutes apart. No one could attend both. And yet, she still did it. But what hurt the most was this. She sent out her baby shower invitations 2 weeks before I sent my wedding invites. Which means she knew. And she still chose that day. I called my mom. "Mom, you knew, didn't you?" Silence. "I know, but Colette needs the family. It's her first baby." I laughed. "What about me?" No answer. Then I called my dad. "You're still coming, right?" "Let me check." Those 2 words said everything. If you were in my position, what would you do? Keep the wedding. Comment 1. Cancel everything. Comment 2. That morning, 2 a.m., I sat in front of the mirror. Rachel, my best friend, was doing my hair. She kept talking, trying to keep things light. But we both knew. There was something we were avoiding. My family. My phone buzzed. "Dad." I picked up immediately. "Dad." His voice felt emptier than I had ever heard. "Addie, I don't know how to say this." My heart dropped. Not because I was surprised, but because I expected it. Colette's event starts at noon, and the drive is long. He paused. We might not make it. Might not. Two soft words. But enough to break everything. I didn't speak. 8 seconds. I remember it clearly. Those 8 seconds of silence were my entire childhood. Every time I believed he loved me equally, collapsed right there. You promised, I said. My voice didn't shake. I know. I'm sorry. But this is the first grandchild. I closed my eyes. This is my only wedding day. Silence. Then he said, don't make this harder. I hung up. No tears. No screaming. Just silence. Falling apart inside me. İki. 15 pima. I arrived at the venue. The garden was beautiful. 42 white chairs. Lavender tea to each one. Everything. Exactly how I imagined. But as I walked closer, I saw it. Most of them were empty. 35 chairs. No one. Only 7 people. Marcus, Rachel, 2 of his friends, 2 of mine, and Harold, our landlord. The wind moved through the chairs. The flowers trembled, like they were trying to fill the silence. I stood at the end of the aisle, alone. No one to walk me down. No father. No family. Just me. And 35 empty chairs. The music started. I was about to walk alone. Then, I heard footsteps behind me. Slow. Steady. Certain. I think I might be overdressed for a garden wedding. I turned. Harold, in a perfectly tailored suit, standing there, looking at me. But if you'll allow me, he extended his hand. I would be honored to walk you down the aisle. I froze. I couldn't speak. I just felt something inside me break open. Not pain, but relief. I took his hand, and we walked. 7 people stood. Rachel cried. Marcus stood at the end, eyes red. And in that moment, I realized something. The people who show up matter more than the ones who were supposed to. If you were me, would you forgive your family? Forgive comment 1. Never comment 2. After the ceremony, there was no grand reception, no ballroom, no live band. We just ordered pizza. Rachel brought a few bottles of wine. A small speaker sat in the middle of the grass. And we danced. 7 people. But for the first time that day, I felt light. Not because everything was perfect, but because, at least it was real. As the sky grew darker, fireflies began to appear. Marcus was cleaning up. Rachel was still laughing, trying to keep the energy alive. And me? I sat down in one of the empty chairs, the one that was meant for my mother. I picked up my phone. The screen lit up. Nothing. No messages. No calls. Not a single congratulations. Not even a sorry. No sign that my family even knew what day it was. I opened Instagram. I knew I shouldn't, but I did. Colette had posted 14 photos. Pink balloons. Gold decorations. A perfect dessert table. Everyone was there. My mom, my dad, the people I invited. I zoomed into one photo. My dad was smiling, his hand resting on Colette's belly, pride in his eyes. Like, this was the most important day of his life, not my wedding. The caption read, "Family is everything." I stared at those words for a long time, then I turned off the screen. No tears, no anger, just emptiness, like something inside me had quietly shut down. That night, Marcus and I lay next to each other. Small room, windows open. The sound of crickets filled the air. He held my hand. I wouldn't trade today for anything. I looked at him. You deserved a better wedding. He shook his head. No, I deserved you. I smiled slightly. But inside, I kept thinking, what if I tried harder? What if I called one more time? Marcus squeezed my hand. You did enough. His voice was soft, but firm. You don't have to beg to be loved. That sentence, and stayed with me. 1 week passed. Then another. No one in my family reached out. No one asked. No one mentioned the wedding. As if it never happened. But what I didn't know was that while I was trying to move on, something else was quietly changing our lives. A secret, an opportunity, and a reversal no one in my family could have imagined. 2 weeks after the wedding, Harold invited us upstairs. Not a casual drop by if you want. A real invitation. Come up for coffee. There's something I need to tell you. Marcus and I looked at each other. We both felt it. Something was different. His small kitchen was quiet. 3 cups already set on the table. And an old cardboard box. He opened it. Inside were exhibition catalogs. The name printed on them. Brenton Gallery, New York. Clippings from art magazines. Photos of Harold standing next to famous artists. I frowned. Harold, what is this? He looked at me. Calm. I ran Brenton Gallery for 22 years. Silence. Marcus froze. So did I. The man we thought was just our landlord was actually someone who had represented top artists. I've been watching Marcus for a while, he said. And I know, he's not just good. He's rare. The room shifted. I looked at Marcus. He said nothing, but I could tell. He already knew. Harold continued. 6 months ago, I sent Marcus's work to someone. A Pause. Victor Ashland. I recognized the name. A major art collector. Harold slid a paper across the table. A number. Bachou. $000. He bought 1 painting. I turned to Marcus. You knew? He nodded. I was going to tell you after the wedding. I didn't want money to overshadow our day. I didn't know what to feel. Shock, pride, and something overwhelming. But that wasn't all. Harold pulled out another document. A contract. Victor wants a long-term agreement with Marcus. 12 paintings. Over 18 months. Total value. $000. I couldn't breathe. That number was more than my family had ever made in years. And then, Harold said the final piece. A gallery in Manhattan wants to host Marcus's solo exhibition. The title. The 7th chair. I froze. The 7th chair. Harold nodded. The empty chairs at your wedding. The world is going to see them. I sat there, speechless, thinking about 35 empty chairs. 7 people who stayed. And the day I thought was the worst of my life was actually the turning point of everything. 1 month later, Marcus and I boarded a plane. This wasn't a normal honeymoon. This was Monaco. A 6,000 meter yacht, named Meridian, owned by Victor Ashland, the man who bought Marcus's art, the man my family had never even heard of. On the first day, I stood on the deck, looking out at the Mediterranean. The water looked unreal. The wind was soft. Everything. I felt peaceful. Marcus wrapped his arms around me, said nothing, just stayed. And for the first time, I knew I had made the right choice. On the 3rd night, Victor hosted a dinner. 8 people, collectors, a critic, a museum curator, the kind of people I had only seen in magazines. Victor raised his glass. Marcus Delaney is one of the rarest painters I've ever encountered. Silence. Then nods. No mocking. No doubt. No one asked, when will you get a real job? That night, I stood alone by the railing, looking at the ocean, and I thought, why did I ever try to prove myself to people who never believed in me? The next evening, I posted a photo. No filters. No long caption. Just 1 sentence. Honeymoon with my husband. Grateful for the ones who showed up. I put my phone down. Went to sleep. Didn't think twice. The next morning, I woke up, picked up my phone, and I froze. Notifications. I wouldn't stop. Message. Missed calls. Hundreds. I kept scrolling. And scrolling. Still more. 417 messages and calls. From the same people. who couldn't send even one message on my wedding day. I opened my dad's messages. 23 missed calls. Addie, whose yacht is that? Call me back. I didn't know Marcus was doing this well. Then finally, please call your dad. My mom? 18 calls. Oh my god. Addie, is that Monaco? I'm so proud of you. Proud. The same woman who couldn't say, congratulations, was now proud. Colette. 3 messages. What is this? Is Marcus actually making money? We need to talk. I read every message. Slowly, clearly, without emotion. Then, I locked my phone. Didn't reply. To anyone. Marcus stepped outside. He looked at me. Didn't need to ask. Your family? I nodded. He stayed quiet. Then said, you don't owe them a response. I looked out at the ocean. 417 message. But not a single one. Arrived when it mattered. I didn't reply. For 4 hours. Not because I was busy, but because I needed time. Not to figure out what to say, but to decide if they deserved to hear it. Finally, I opened the family group chat. The place where I once tried to belong. I looked at the screen. Hundreds of messages. Proud of you. So happy for you. From people who weren't there. I started typing. Slowly. Clearly. No anger. No accusations. Just the truth. Thank you for your messages. Marcus and I are doing well. He signed a major contract 6 weeks ago. The yacht belongs to his patron. This trip is a gift. I paused, took a breath, then continued. But I want to be clear about something. On June 14th, I got married. My father promised to walk me down the aisle. But he didn't come. My mother chose to attend another event. And my sister deliberately scheduled hers on the same day. I reread the message. Didn't soften it. Didn't edit it. I'm not angry, but I need space. I won't pretend everything is okay. When I'm ready to talk, I will reach out. Please respect that. I pressed send, put my phone down. No shaking. No regret. 4 hours. No replies. Another silence. But this time, it was different. This time, it was the silence of people being exposed. C'est qui se paie? My dad called. I looked at the screen. Didn't answer. Didn't decline. Just let it ring. An hour later, Colette posted a story. A dinner table. Warm lighting. Wine glasses. Caption. Family dinner. Missing one. I smiled. Slowly. She hadn't changed. Still rewriting the story. To make herself the victim. As if I was the one who left. Not them. I turned off my phone. Looked out at the ocean. Marcus walked up beside me. You okay? I nodded. For the first time, I don't need them to understand me anymore. But what I didn't know was that back home, things were starting to crack. Not because of what I said, but because the truth had surfaced. And this time, no one could hide from it. If it were you, would you send that message? Speak the truth. Comment 1. Stay silent. Comment 2. 2 weeks after we got back, I received a message from Aunt Patricia, the only one in my family, who still occasionally reached out. The message was short. Have you heard about Brett? I stared at the screen. Didn't reply immediately. What happened? 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Finally, his company is in serious trouble. I wasn't surprised. But I didn't fully understand. Until things started to unfold. 2 major real estate projects collapsed. Funding was cut. Banks started applying pressure. Calls that used to be answered instantly were now ignored. Important meetings canceled at the last minute. Within weeks, everything changed. Fast and brutally. Colette's Lexus was gone. Replaced by an older car. Her Instagram went silent. Completely. 2 weeks. No posts. No stories. For Colette. That said everything. Then, my mom called. For the first time in over a month, her voice, softer, but not as confident as before. Addie, how are you? I paused. I'm okay. A moment of silence. Your dad grilled last weekend. If you and Marcus are free, come over for dinner? I leaned against the wall, looking out the window. The ocean was far now, but the feeling stayed. I'm busy tonight. Mom. She didn't say much. Just, okay. Let me know when you're free. I hung up, stood there for a moment, and then I understood. It wasn't because they missed me. It wasn't because they wanted to fix things. It was because they needed me now. At the same time, Marcus got a call from the gallery. The seventh chair exhibition was confirmed. Press started covering it. Important names started paying attention. Everything in my life was rising. Stable, clear, and for the first time, independent. Meanwhile, my family was falling. Slowly, but surely. A week later, Aunt Patricia texted again. Brett might have to file for bankruptcy. I read the message. Didn't feel happy. Didn't feel sad. Just a fact. And in that moment, I realized something. The people who chose money over me were now losing the very thing they chose. But what they didn't know was that this time, I wouldn't come back to save them. At least, not the way I used to. 3 days later, my dad called again. This time, I answered. Addie. His voice was different. No confidence. No control. Just exhaustion. I don't know where to start. I said nothing. I waited. Brett's company. He paused. It might go bankrupt. I closed my eyes. Not surprised. Just confirmation. Your mom and I. His voice got quieter. We might lose the house. The house in Glastonbury. The one that always had to look perfect. The one I never truly belonged to. I know I have no right to ask. He continued. But, can you help us? That question didn't hurt. Didn't make me angry. It just made everything clear. I didn't answer right away. I let the silence sit. For the first time, he had to feel it. Dad. I spoke slowly. 6 months ago, you chose a party. Over my wedding. No response. Just breathing. You promised to walk me down the aisle. But you didn't come. No anger. No shouting. Just truth. I'm not saying I won't help. I continued. But you need to understand something. I'm not your backup plan. Silence. Long. Then, for the first time, he said, I was wrong. No excuses. No explanations. Just those words. I sat at a party while my daughter got married with 7 people. His voice broke. I'll carry that for the rest of my life. I took a breath. Didn't forgive immediately. But something shifted. I'll think about it. I said. But this time, things will be different. I hung up. 2 days later, Colette called. Addie, I miss you. Her voice was soft, sweet, familiar. I said nothing. Brett lost everything. She continued. Mom and Dad need help. And then, within 30 seconds, everything changed. You and Marcus are doing well now. We can move past this, right? I smiled. Softly. Move past what? Silence. You scheduled your event on my wedding day. You called everyone and made them choose you. You said I could get married anytime. I paused. Do you remember? No answer. I'm not angry. I said. But I won't forget. And I will never let love be used as a leash again. She hung up. I put my phone down, looked out the window. For the first time, I didn't feel like I was losing my family. I felt like I was choosing my life. 6 months later, I stood in my own kitchen. A small house, 2 bedrooms, near the ocean. Not luxurious, but mine. Completely. Marcus was downstairs in the studio. The familiar sound of brushes, the smell of oil paint, and a kind of peace I had never known before. The 7th chair exhibition had ended. Almost every piece sold. Marcus's name. It was now being mentioned in places we never imagined. And me. I signed a book illustration contract. A story about a girl who grows flowers in a place no one believed anything could grow. I smiled reading it, because I knew that was me. Every Sunday, Harold came over, with a bottle of wine, sitting at our table, like he had always belonged there. One afternoon, a car pulled into the driveway. I opened the door. My dad. He stood there, old shirt, hands in his pockets, eyes different. I didn't come to ask for money, he said. I didn't respond. I came to say I'm sorry. No drama. No big tears. Just those words. The ones I had waited for. I chose wrong. I wasn't there. And I'll carry that. I looked at him. For a long time. You can come in for coffee. I said. Not forgiveness. But not rejection either. He walked in. Slowly. Looking around. The studio. The garden. In the hallway. He stopped at a painting. June 14th. 42 chairs. 7 people. 35. Empty. He stood there. For a long time. Then he pulled out a paper. An old certificate. My art award. From years ago. I found it in the attic. It should have been on the wall. I took it. Said nothing. Some things can't be fixed instantly. But they can. Begin again. Lauter. Colette sent me a letter. Handwritten. I chose that day on purpose. I was afraid, if you were happy, people wouldn't need me anymore. I read it again. Then folded it. Placed it in a drawer. Not forgotten, but no longer defining me. Now, I stand on my porch, watching lavender bloom. 42 chairs. 7 people. 417 messages. And finally, I understand. You don't need revenge. You don't need to prove anything. You just need to stop setting yourself on fire to keep others warm. If this story resonated with you, what would you choose? Forgive and move on. Comment 1. Cut them off completely. Comment 2. People always ask me one question. In the end, did you forgive them? The truth is, forgiveness is not a moment. It's not a day when you wake up and everything feels okay. Forgiveness is a process, like building a bridge, one plank at a time. Some days you move forward. Some days you stand still. And some days you want to turn back. I don't hate my family. I am no longer the person willing to destroy myself to keep them. My mom now calls once a week. She doesn't ask for money. She doesn't bring up the past. She just asks, have you eaten? How's work? Small questions, but real. My dad visits sometimes, not often, not forcing anything, just sits quietly, watching Marcus paint. Some days, we don't speak at all, but that silence is different now. It's not distance, it's acknowledgement. And Colette, she changed more slowly. She started working. For the first time in years. No more luxury posts. No more perfect image. Just a real life. We don't talk much, but that letter changed everything. Not because it fixed the past, but because for the first time, she told the truth. And I realized something. Most people aren't evil. They're just afraid of losing their place. Afraid of being replaced. Afraid of not being chosen. But fear is not an excuse to hurt others. I don't need them to be perfect. I just need them to be honest. And me? I don't count the people who left anymore. I count the ones who stayed. 7 people at my wedding. Harold, Rachel, Marcus, and myself. Because in the end, the most important person you need to keep is not your family. It's you. If I could go back to before June 14th, before everything happened, I wouldn't change a thing. Not because I'm strong, but because I needed to go through all of it to become who I am today. I used to believe family is where you always belong. no matter what you do, no matter who you are. But I was wrong. Family is not where you're born. It's where you are chosen. Chosen to be loved. Chosen to be stayed for. Chosen to be seen. I tried so hard to be someone my family could be proud of. I did everything right. I didn't cause trouble. I didn't ask for much. I kept trying. But in the end, I realized something. You cannot make someone choose you if they never wanted to. And that is not your fault. The day I stood in front of 42 chairs and saw 35 empty, I thought it was the worst day of my life. But really, it was the clearest. Clear about who stayed, clear about who left, and most importantly, clear about my own worth. If you're watching this, and you've ever been left behind, overlooked, chosen last, I want you to remember something. You don't have to prove your worth by staying where you're not valued. You don't have to wait for an apology that may never come. You don't have to keep setting yourself on fire to keep others warm. You just need to stop and ask yourself, am I choosing myself? Because sometimes the biggest turning point in your life is not when things get better. It's when you stop accepting what hurts you. 42 chairs, 7 people stayed. In the end, I didn't lose my family. I just stopped trying to hold on to people who were never staying. I thought that was the end. A wedding with 7 people, a broken family, a new life beginning. But I was wrong. Because there's one thing no one tells you. When you start to change, when you stop accepting, when you choose yourself, the people around you, it will change too. Not all of them, but enough to show you who's real. 3 months after the exhibition, an article was published. Not about me, not about my family, but about Marcus. The title, The Painter Who Turned Pain into Art. In that article, there was a line. The painting June 14th was inspired by a wedding, with only 7 guests, while 35 chairs remained empty. I read that line over and over, not because it hurt, but because, for the first time, Miss Story was no longer a secret. It became part of the world, and the strangest thing was, I didn't feel ashamed. I didn't feel like a victim anymore. I felt free, but not everyone felt the same. Aunt Patricia called me, Addie. People are talking about that painting. I stayed silent. Colette is furious. I smiled, softly, not because I wanted to hurt her, but because, for the first time, she couldn't control the narrative. She couldn't rewrite it. The truth was hanging on a wall, and everyone could see it. A week later, I received a message. Not from my dad, not from my mom, but from a stranger. I saw that painting, and I saw myself in it. I read that message for a long time, and I understood. This story was no longer just mine. It belonged to anyone who had ever been left behind, anyone who sat among empty chairs and wondered, do I matter? And if you're still here, the real question isn't, why didn't they choose you? It's, have you chosen yourself? 1 year later, I went back to that garden, not to recreate the wedding, not to fix anything, just to look again. The 42 chairs were no longer there, only grass, a soft breeze, and memories. I stood in the same spot, where I once stood alone, where I thought I had lost everything. Marcus walked up beside me. He didn't ask, didn't say anything, just held my hand. What do you see? He asked. I looked ahead. Not empty chairs anymore. I see the people who stayed. Marcus smiled, and I realized the way I saw this story had completely changed. Before, I focused on what I lost. Now, I see what I kept. Not 35 empty chairs, but 7 people who stayed. Harold, Rachel, Marcus, and myself. We didn't have a perfect wedding, but we had a perfect truth. No pretending, no forcing, no proving. A love that was chosen, a family that was built, Not by blood, but by presence. That evening, we didn't leave right away. We sat on the grass, with a bottle of wine, a small speaker, and this time, no chairs, no emptiness, just the people who were truly there. Marcus played music. Rachel danced. Harold laughed. I looked at them, and I understood. Those empty chairs were not a loss. They were a filter, removing the ones who didn't belong, so the ones who stayed could finally be seen. I thought everything had settled. Fewer calls, fewer messages. My life was becoming stable. Until one afternoon, there was a knock on the door. I opened it. My mother. She stood there. No makeup. No perfect image. Just a mother. Addie, can I come in? I didn't answer right away, but I stepped aside. She walked in, looked around. The small house. The kitchen. Marcus's paintings. It's beautiful, she said softly. We sat down. Silence for a moment. Then she spoke. I know. I was wrong. No explanation. No excuses. Just acknowledgement. I chose wrong. And I wasn't there for you. I looked at her. For the first time, I didn't feel anger. Just tired. I didn't come to ask for money. She continued. I just want my daughter back. That sentence. I should have moved me. But it didn't. Not because I don't care, but because it came too late. Why now? I asked. She stayed silent. For a long time, because I realized I might lose you forever. I nodded. Yes. No anger. No sarcasm. Just truth. Love isn't something, I said slowly, that only shows up when you're afraid of losing it. She looked down. I don't hate you, I said, but I can't go back to who I was. No dramatic ending. No tearful hug. Just boundaries. You can come here. We can talk. But things will be different. She nodded. Not happy, but accepting. When she left, I closed the door. I didn't feel loss. I didn't feel relief. Just groan. Because for the first time in my life, I didn't choose between my family and myself. I chose something in between. If someone who hurt you comes back, what would you do? Give a chance, but keep distance. Comment 1. Cut them off. Completely. Comment 2. There's something no one teaches you. That sometimes the greatest pain in your life is not being abandoned. It's staying too long. Staying in relationships where you have to earn love. Staying in families where you're always the second choice. Staying because you hope one day things will change. I used to be like that. I believed if I was good enough, patient enough, understanding enough, they would choose me. But the truth is, you cannot earn someone's love. Love is not a reward. And you are not meant to compete for it. The day I stood in front of 42 chairs and saw 35 empty, I thought I wasn't important. But now, I know. Those empty chairs. I say nothing about my worth. They only reflect other people's capacity to show up. And those are two very different things. You can be amazing and still be left behind. You can give everything and still not be chosen. Not because you lack something, but because they lack the ability to receive. And when you understand that, everything changes. You stop trying. You stop proving. You stop waiting. And you start choosing yourself. Quietly. Without announcement. Just every day. You don't go back to what hurt you. 42 chairs. 7 people stayed. In the end, it's not about who left. It's about whether you have the courage to move forward without them. And if you ask me, what changed my life? Not money. Not success. But the moment I stopped asking, why didn't they choose me? And started asking, am I choosing myself? If you ask me, after everything, am I happy? The answer is Yes, but not the kind of happiness I once imagined. Not a perfect family, not everyone coming back, but a life where I no longer have to pretend. I don't have to try to be seen. I don't have to stay silent to keep the peace. I don't have to shrink myself to fit someone else's expectations. I just am. And the strangest thing is, when I stopped trying to be loved, I was loved more. Not by everyone, but by the right people. Marcus, Rachel, Harold, and myself. If you're listening to this story, and you see yourself in it, maybe you're standing in front of your own empty chairs. Maybe you're waiting for someone to come back, waiting for an apology, waiting for change. But let me tell you something I wish I knew sooner. Your life does not begin when they return. It begins when you move forward without them. 42 chairs. 7 people stayed. 417 messages that came too late. In the end, I didn't need them to understand me. I just needed to stop abandoning myself. And if you remember one thing from this story, remember this. You don't need to be chosen to be worthy. You were already worthy from the start. If this story resonated with you, take a second and look at your own life. How many empty chairs are you still trying to fill? And how many people actually stayed? If you want more stories like this, hit subscribe. Not for me, but for yourself. Because sometimes, the right story at the right time, it can change everything. Before you go, be honest. Have you ever felt not chosen? Comment un égale yes? Comment deux égale no?